Hey everybody, this is Kenny C here from Chilling with Jeff and Kenny C, and I'm bringing you an exclusive interview. My guest at this time is an alternative model, goes by the name of Lorianne Michelle. She's joining me right now. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing real good, and I want to thank you for taking the time to do this interview.
Oh, no problem.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. First question: um, How did your modeling career begin?
My modeling career began probably about 9 years ago. I've always done things that have been in the spotlight. I was a competitive dancer and I did gymnastics pretty competitively and ballet for probably about 12 years. And right in my early 20s, I was just taking things in a new direction and I got really interested in still being in front of people and still being in front of, as they say, the spotlight. But I was not wanting to do that anymore. I wanted to go in a new direction. And I had met some people that were like, hey, would you ever be interested in maybe doing modeling or checking this out or wearing some of my clothes, for a shoot? And I was like, sure, why not? Sounds like fun. And so I went in and I did it, and I was like, hey, this is pretty cool, and I really like doing it. And it was just really basic modeling, clothes modeling. So that's kind of how it started. It just was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I like doing this, and I think I'm gonna maybe pursue this. It wasn't really serious at first. It was just kind of, for fun, and it took off from there, really.
Very,
So,
very interesting, considering that like a lot of things in life, things start off being for fun. When you get the hang
yeah.
of it, is something that okay, I want to make this my profession.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's more natural that way than just trying to do something, and having a lot of pressure on you. I mean, there's a lot of pressure in this kind of business in general, and so I try to keep it. I try to always remember why I went into it in the first place, which was, because I enjoy it and I have fun with it. So I kind of try to keep it at that level.
So I looked at your Twitter bio and it says you are a alternative model. What made you decide to go that route of modeling?
Um, there's a lot of different routes you can go with modeling. There's a runway, there's a more like fashion, there's a more edgy, and I've never really followed the people that wanted to do the popular thing. I kind of always did my own thing, and I never really wanted to go by anyone's rules, I guess. And so I just started doing my own thing, and I fit in with the people that were doing, that same thing. And the runway thing kind of scared me. I did it for a while, and I was just terrified that I was gonna like fall off the runway and all this stuff. And I hated the pressure and the type of people that involved with it because it was very unhealthy. It was very, catty and competitive, and I didn't like that. And so I started doing more alternative modeling, and I started collaborating with people that just had more unconventional ideas. And when around, I think about 23 or 24, I ended up getting a pretty extensive piercings. I have on my chest, I've got like I don't know how to explain it. They're microdermals, but I have about 24 of them, and they're like in full corsets on my arms and my chest. And so I started doing modeling for like tattoo magazines and piercing magazines, and that kind of sparked my interest. And I started meeting people in that field and that crowd, and it kind of led to the type of modeling I do today. So it's a natural progression into this kind of modeling. But I definitely had to go through that path to find exactly what it is and what I wanted to do.
I've interviewed a variety of models for many years, and I've also interviewed the likes of an alternative models. And what I like about alternative models is those are the type of people that go against the grain. They do
Yeah.
things that you wouldn't expect from other portion of models. They show off their tattoos. They show off their piercing. They I guess it's more of a to be that type of model, you definitely have to have confidence. There's no glitz and glam about it. You really have to have that confidence and embrace what's inside you and such.
Oh no, I agree. I totally agree. And it's a field where you can, if you're completely comfortable with being yourself, then that's what it is for you. You don't have to be anybody else. You can, just do what you want to do. So, and then that fit me better as a person and as and just what I believe in as a different type of modeling where, there was, oh, you can't do this or this is the way it is. It just didn't really fit with what I wanted to do. So I think that, it's not surprising to me as a person and as I live my life and as I've grown up that, this is the path that I've gone on towards modeling. So it's not surprising for me.
Two-part question as it pertains to traveling, because that's what a lot of models have to do to get themselves out there, to expand themselves.
Yeah.
What are your favorite places you like to travel, and what are some places you haven't had a chance to travel but would like to travel someday?
Well, I am a huge city girl. I currently I reside in Indianapolis, but I am not usually there. I'm usually all over the place, and I do work. I do work for companies in LA and New York specifically. So I do get to travel to those two places quite frequently. And I do like New York a lot, but I love LA. There's something about LA that just, it seems like it's like pretty much the city that is like my city, like how I would be if I was going to live somewhere, I would live there. But I do, as of traveling like out of the country, I love Europe, and I've traveled to Europe a lot. And for what I do, more fetish-based modeling that I've gone into, alternative and fetish modeling, the scene out there is like unheard of, like unbelievable. There's so much going on, and it's not quite as taboo as it is in the U.S. But times are always changing and stuff like that, so it's getting bigger. But in Europe, it's pretty awesome. I would really love to probably travel maybe over to Australia or New Zealand and see that, just for pure like interest and just to see what that's like versus Europe, and see what the scene is like out there and what kind of work I could do and stuff like that. I think that would be pretty interesting. But I've yet to travel there. I went to South America. That was a totally different experience. But I'd say, if I couldn't be in Paris, or I'd probably be in LA. That's where I would be.
All right, and what do you consider as influences in your career? It don't necessarily have to be models per se, just people that you look up to that got to where you are today. Who do you consider as influences in your career?
Well, when I started to get into modeling, I didn't really look for a specific person as or somebody that's well known. I kind of looked at the girls around me that I thought were doing a good job in my eyes or interesting things, and I thought, I want to do that. And as I got more into it and started like really developing the career and what I wanted to do and myself as a persona and who I am, I started looking at these girls that were making a living off of this and doing what they wanted to do, and I was like, wow, and specifically I started following a model who lives in LA. Her name's Misumi Max, and I was like, I'm going to work with this girl. And about 2 years, maybe a year and a half, 2 years later, I booked a shoot with her and flew out to LA and to West Hollywood for the first time and worked with her, and it was like unreal experience. Like, I can't believe I'm here working with this person that's amazing and doing what I want to do. And it was like, it gave me so much inspiration as a person, and she was so like just nice and gave me so much advice that it really helped me be more confident in the career and who I want to be and how I want to take it. And from there, it really helped me book a lot of jobs, because the more confident you are and the more you feel you have to like give towards yourself, it's easier to be like, this is why you should book me, and or you put me in contact with this person, and it's a lot of networking. But if you meet the right people and you have the right attitude in the will to do it, you need that in order to get there and get what you want to do. So she gave me that when I went to go visit her, and then I came back here into the Midwest, and I worked pretty well for a couple of years, and I actually went back to work with her and some other people like maybe 2 years later. And I was like, telling her, I was like, this is why I'm doing this, and you really gave me this confidence, and she's a really cool person, so I'm really glad that I got to meet her.
Without a doubt, she's definitely a household name when it comes
yeah,
to.
She is.
She's definitely paved the way for a lot of people, and to see how far she has come, that's saying something. I mean, to get that praise, just to not only to mention her, but to actually get a chance to work with her, and that has to be a highlight of your career, would it not?
Oh, definitely. It was the whole time I was going there. I mean, this was about 4 years ago. So, I mean, the whole time I was there, it was just like, this is really an amazing opportunity. I can't believe this is happening. And, it's definitely one of the highlights of my career, and at that time, I'm so grateful that I got to meet her, and that, she's been an inspiration to me, and that, she's given me advice, and even her husband is the one that shot, the scene, or the sets, and he shoots her. He's a photographer. His name's Morat. He works at the, Morat Photography, and like just being able to talk to them and be like, later down the road, I still talk to them, and they still, give me advice or whatnot. And so it's really good to have like friends or other places that, if you need to talk to about like what should I do in this, and I feel like she would give me great advice even now. So.
What would your advice be to anyone out there that wants to pursue their career as a model? What would your advice be?
I would say if you want to pursue a career in modeling, and you really, like, if that's what you want to do, then I would say go for it. I would say, I mean, there are going to be people, especially now, there's so many, it's a saturated market like you would never believe. You have people taking pictures with their iPhones, or pictures with whatever, and they're, oh, I'm a model and stuff, and you can be whatever you want to be, but if you're really serious about it, and you really want to do it, then give it all you have. But I have a lot of girls that here, they come to me, they're younger girls, they want to do modeling, and I always tell them, and actually I learned this from Jen Jameson, I tell them, like, make sure you have boundaries and never, ever, ever go over those moral boundaries, because once you do that, you lose respect for yourself, and it's really hard to get back. So just make sure you know what you want to do, you set those boundaries, and you just go for it.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Is this something you still want to do down the road?
I've changed that a lot, actually. If you had asked me last year, it probably would be something different. If you asked me the year before, it would be something different. So the 5-year plan is really hard for me. I'm a pretty spontaneous person, but all I can say is that I'd really like to, I'd like to be happy, and I'd like to still be doing what I can be doing, and having a good time at it. And it's definitely, like, the career is definitely molded for me. If you had asked me this a couple years ago, I would have been like, oh, I want to be I want to be like having all these shoots and traveling, and what you learn as you go on through the experience, and as you get older, you learn, like, certain things become more important. Maybe you just want to make maybe you just want to make like a dent in somebody's life, or you just want to be like make a difference and have somebody be like, wow, that's really cool, even if it's a smaller group of people versus, you know, maybe a huge, you know, worldwide or whatever it was when you first started. Like, so now it's like, for me, it's like I really just want to do what I want to do and be able to reach out to people and get them interested and kind of go that way.
Do you have anything in the works? Anything you have planned, like appearances, anything like that?
I actually, well, I have a website coming out. It's my own personal website. I've been working on it forever, for a while now. It's a collective of websites. I do actually model for certain websites, and I'm putting out this old one. I've got an appearance coming up soon in Indianapolis and Blue to promote it and kind of do like a launch. So it's going to be, I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to say it right now because it's still under construction. It won't actually be up until November. So, but I mean, yeah, I'll go ahead and release it. It's going to be on it's theladyloren.com. It's just going to be my own personal work of all the modeling I've done throughout the years. You can book me there. There'll be videos of all the performances and stuff that I do. I do like fetish burlesque and stuff as well. So it'll be just kind of like, you know, the ends to just, instead of just getting photos and having them and having this big portfolio, it'll be like my online portfolio and be able to book me through there and see all my latest work and things like that. So it's pretty exciting. It's a big production. It's hard to do. So I'm looking forward to that.
You heard it right here first. New website coming soon. Thank you for giving us that. That's very awesome. And while people wait for that, you got other social media links out there, Twitter. Why don't you go ahead and promote your links?
Well, as I started getting more into my modeling career and to the fetish side of the careers, I kind of went from the alt side into fetish and alt. Kind of, you know, they kind of blend in. They are different, but in most communities, you know, they're one and the same. You have them, and it's not a huge difference. But as I started getting more into that, I started actually doing a lot of art nude and nude modeling and things like that. So I work for a couple. I do some work for a couple companies out in LA. I did work for Suicide Girls. It's a pretty big company. Most people know about it. I actually just left a year ago, and now I do modeling for godsgirls.com. That's out in LA. You can check it out at godsgirls.com. And then I also do modeling for a website in New York called stagstreet.com. So, and that one's, they're both run by actually pretty amazing women, which I think is great. When you can run a website of naked women by women, that's pretty cool. But yeah, they're both paid websites, so you do have to have subscriptions, but you can do like a preview of all of them, and they're pretty low, and they're definitely worth it. They're full of gorgeous women, so, you know, they're worth the money.
Oh, and you do have a Twitter under the name the Lady Lorian. Follow her on Twitter.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So she's very intriguing, and her tweets and her tweets are off the chain. So go check them out. Two more questions.
Okay.
What do you consider the pros and the cons of being a model?
I would consider the pros of being a model definitely like getting to meet new people and just having like all the time getting to meet new people and like getting into things that you never thought you would get into. I mean, with what I do in like my modeling, is it being more fetish oriented. I mean, all the time I'll go to shoots or I'll get invited to parties that are fetish related, and you know, I'll meet all these amazing people, and I think that's a huge part for me. I feel like when I was doing runway modeling and for a more fashion aspect, I wasn't building relationships with people because nobody was there to work on a group level or to be supportive. It was very, very like cold. So I think when I changed over, and I just went a different direction, that's the main thing I found about it. It was like all these people and the friendships that I built, and like just the stability of people, helping out, being there for you is really great. The con, I would say, would be the con is if you're not into being pretty spontaneous, or keeping care of yourself, working out, making sure you're not doing anything destructive to your body, and just being able to travel if you have to. I mean, it can be very expensive. If those things are not a problem with you, then they're not huge cons. I don't really have a huge list of cons because I truly love like what I do. So I'd have to say they're pretty low.
And how do you like to be remembered?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Oh, how do you like to be remembered when your career is all said and done? When you look back and reflect on everything, how do you like to be remembered?
I think I would like to be remembered as a really fun person who is genuine and, would be somebody that they could come to if they wanted advice or help or really anything at all. I just kind of want to be remembered as a great person and a great model.
Lorianne Michelle has joined me here on Chilling with Jeffrey Kenny C, and I want to thank you for being on. Everybody be on the lookout for her website coming soon. And for the time being, follow her on Twitter at the Lady Lorianne, and she'll keep you posted on the website and everything else she has in the works. But great talking to you. Thank you for doing this interview, and best of success goes out to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. This will conclude the interview.